everyone, and welcome to episode 7
Incredible.
of Novel Therapy. I'm Kate Fennessy, aspiring writer and social media marketer.
And I'm Helen Brown, New York Times bestselling author.
Yes, we still struggle sometimes to know who we are. It's very difficult.
It's part of being human.
It's very true. We're very human.
Yeah.
So we had a week off. We both had a busy week last week. I had a lot of client stuff and Helen had a lot of things to do as well. So we had a week off. So our last episode was when we spoke to Jude McGee, of course, which was fabulous. And I feel like the main message I got from Jude was take your craft seriously. So I've been, hanging around this planet, really trying to live like a writer a bit more.
That's good. That's good. I was a bit concerned that you were rather chastened by what Jude had to say, and afterwards you said, 10,000 copies, is that a bestseller?
Yeah.
It's a jolly tough world. But
Yeah.
if you got to do it, you got to do it.
Yeah, look, it was a reality check, there's no doubt about it.
Yeah.
But I think, that's part of it. And I think anyone who wants to be an actor or a singer, they're all facing the same sort of enormous obstacles in a sense. And the idea of making it or succeeding, it's not why we do it, I don't think. For me, the drive is there regardless of really the outcomes.
Well, that's good to hear.
Yeah.
And I hope it's the same for people listening too, that, this is more an exploration into your creative life and your creative potential and where that can take you.
Exactly. And I think, I was just going to say, if you were so focused on getting published, I think that would quite change the whole experience for me. I know you've got to think about, obviously, readers and what it could be, but that's not really the driver for me.
No. And it's probably a recipe for failure, in all honesty. Yeah.
I think so.
What have you been up to?
I know, well, it's been an interesting 2 weeks. I've had a kind of annoying cold that I'm just on the tail end of, which has been bad timing because my daughter's been away. She is away at the moment, which is very exciting for her. She's traversing the Australian, cut a line up the centre of Australia heading north. At the moment, she's been between Alice Springs and Darwin. So for our international listeners, this is an incredible part of Australia. I've never been to. Tropical, red dirt, full of some amazing spiritual places. So that's exciting. And the main highlight, I have to say, was I ended up attending the Melbourne Climate Strike on Friday, I was one of 100,000 people in Melbourne.
Well done, you.
It was such a fabulous feeling, and it was a last minute decision. And I think I was thinking of my daughter. I know she would have been proud of me for going. But I have to say, the energy from being around like-minded people is incredibly inspiring. And I know they say you shouldn't live in a bubble and you should, not just surround yourself in an echo chamber, but God, it feels good to be in an echo chamber sometimes.
Yeah, wonderful.
It was a lovely feeling of positivity. I felt like I was in the future a little bit.
That's good.
Yeah.
Well, I've had an equally busy time because it's less than a week that my first children's book, Cleo and Rob, comes out, and I've got events in Victoria and in New Zealand and some really special ones. So I hope if anyone's listening who's in those areas can come along, love to see you. And in the meantime, I finished the first draft of another children's book.
What?
I know!
You little surprise packet.
Why make one biscuit when you can make a whole batch? I've got the mix there.
Exciting.
And it revolves around a certain character who often turns up in our podcast.
Oh my God, I'm so excited. I just got fangirl chills.
It's got Jonah in it.
Yay.
I thought he's getting on. Oh, well.
Jonah must feel incredibly proud, but I feel he would feel more justified, like this is the right thing.
I know, and he's more likely to sue me for taking his intellectual property. But anyway, so it's been hilarious. Yeah.
So was that sort of in the works or just something?
It's been in my subconscious for ages. I think I don't know. Brilliant. I think children's books are a bit like poetry. They're sitting out there in the ether and they come to you. And I don't know, I've only just sent it to the publisher. She may throw it back at me and I don't mind. Rejection's fine.
Well, it's part of it, I hear.
It's called Take That Cat Back.
Take that cat back. I love it. And you know what I love? This is hopeless, this is my work talking, but straight away when you said that, I'm seeing an Instagram account of Jonah, because the cool thing is kids, if they connect to the character, they can connect to the real Jonah, and they would probably love to see, I'm seeing a YouTube channel / an Instagram account.
Well, we'll just add it to the
list of
things.
That's right. Oh my
But
God.
hey, well, we're running out of time. I've got to take you to this very special place, because I was a bit worried about you and after your interview with Jude, and I thought, no, it's time for us to have some fun.
Yes.
And I've also got some very important messages for you where we're going.
I'm so excited. I'm eating carrot cake again. Sorry, it's become our tradition. We'll tell people, I guess, what we're doing. I left a little bit of a hint on the Facebook group. Yeah. That very funny, going to the shop in my active wear, whatever they say.
And we are wearing our active wear.
You can't really see yet, but we are wearing active wear.
And I'm wearing large earrings to detract from other body parts.
Oh dear. So we're off soon. We're going to do that same magic trick that we used last week, which is where we'll just cut and we'll be somewhere else.
Whoosh.
Exactly, we'll go whoosh. I just wanted to quickly shout out to one other quick thing though, which was in the last fortnight. I think I mentioned it to you, Helen, but I want our listeners to know, because I found a really, really cool show called Shrill. Cool name, Shrill. It's only six episodes. It's one season. And I had a little look this morning. The description of Shrill, I think you will love this, is a struggling young journalist determined to change her life without changing her body.
Oh, perfect.
She's overweight, right? She's a big girl. And I, for one, born in 1978, really haven't seen many big women on TV, you know, even to now. You just don't see, unless they're the funny, happy, fat girl.
There's that wonderful Lizzo.
Lizzo is
her.
brilliant.
I keep playing her.
Isn't
boy, dancing to her.
Yeah, my niece loves me. Hey boy, what is there boy? Like,
I'm a 13-year-old trapped in an antique body.
Lizzo's fabulous.
She is.
Shrill is another great character.
Okay,
so
if
you're a Lizzo fan, if you're a fan of Fleabag and some of the other, and Glow, some of the series we've been talking about, I can do a big shout out for Shrill. And one more dorky thing that I also wanted to share, and I might pop a photo up in the group, is while my daughter's been away, I Marie Kondo'd my bookshelves. Not in a Marie Kondo extreme way, because Marie Kondo, the clutter queen of Japan, she reckons you only need like 10 books in your life, like whatever. I have many more than that. But I just recycled some, I gave some away, and I've ordered them. So I have one shelf of non-fiction. It's now 80%, it's 80% fiction. But it was funny connecting to the chat with Jude. You know, Jude, it did lodge in my head, her saying, to be a writer, you've got to take your craft seriously. Yeah. And you know, you and I have both talked about reading as a writer.
Yep.
When I finished
living as a writer.
Yes, that's what I'm trying to do. And when I finished zhuzhing up my bookshelves, which made me feel really quite grand, I have to say, I loved it. It made me realise how much of a reader I am. Like, I really inhale those things. And so I felt quite excited to have them around me and sorted, and it felt really
congratulations.
Good.
Again. I'm always congratulating
you. It's the best clinic ever. You come here to feel good, eat carrot cake.
Look, I think we've got to go to that other place.
We do. It's time.
We've got someone waiting for us there.
We do. All right, so when you next see us, be prepared to be
blown
excited,
away.
Alarmed. No, we'll see you soon, everyone.
Yeah.
Okay.
Ba-boom! Here we are with our very special guest today, which is Kate Lister. What's the name of your company, Kate? I forget.
Mind Body Integration.
That's right. And look, Kate, I'm going to call you Katie today so we don't get too confused with the two Katies. But I know that you were a little bit somber after last time because, you know, it seems so serious, the publishing world. But this is another element of my writing life, and that when I'm writing a book, I only see two people a day, and one is whoever's making my coffee, and the other one is Katie here, because she is the most fabulous Pilates teacher, and she stopped me from falling out of my pelvic floor, and she helps my neck. So tell us, Katie, what sort of problems do writers get physically?
All sorts. Mostly like neck and shoulder problems, upper back, headaches is a really big one. I mean, you've had headaches.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not bad ones though. And what can we sedentary types do?
Oh, so many things. Get moving.
Yeah.
That's probably the biggest thing is moving, because obviously sitting still for however many hours you're writing for. Keeping moving is the best thing to keep your muscles supple and your joints mobile and healthy. That's definitely.
And what can you do for your neck and shoulders? Because it's worse for me, really.
Oh, I think it's more about being aware of your posture when you are sitting for such a long period of time. As long as you can, everyone just like sit up nice and straight. As long as you become aware of how you are and not slouching, and if you start to feel discomfort when you are working, it's a good time to get up and start moving, so you can sort of stop the pain or discomfort from getting worse.
Yeah.
So bringing your awareness to that is really important. Yeah.
And Kate, one of the reasons I wanted to bring you here is I noticed in your outline that there was a chapter in a Pilates studio towards the end of the book, and I just thought this could be a really good opportunity to layer that up. And I would love your protagonist, Ray, to have a history. Because when I was in Romania once, they said everyone has a history. And look, maybe she's got a devoted ex-husband or boyfriend who follows her around and comes to Pilates or does whatever. But this is also, look at these big fluffy handcuffs.
I think there's a lot of little sort of things you can.
Most people, when they walk into the Pilates studio, will look at this piece of apparatus and go, "What is that?" And their mind just starts to wander.
I know, it's actually funny. You've sparked this idea already, Helen, that maybe I like the idea that maybe there could be a secret admirer in the Pilates class, because I often find, I do Pilates, I live down in Frankston, so I go to my local, it's called the Peninsula Aquatic Centre, those kind of community-based ones. So it's often quite full. It'll be like 40 people in my Pilates classes, and often one man, maybe two. But I always wonder what goes through their head, because they're, as you know, lots of positions. Sometimes the man might see a sea of bums, just
with legs stretching.
And sometimes, cleavages happen. I've always wondered what might be going through the head of a man in a Pilates class full of women. I like this idea. This is good.
And I love the idea of it being, because look, I think she should dirty up a bit this.
Yeah, we're trying to make her more 3D.
Yeah, I reckon she's definitely got a past, and she's definitely got some kind of stalker hanger-on guy that she might have liked once.
Yes, because my character have given her big boobs, because that's the beauty of writing. You can make stuff up, obviously, and so maybe her boobs, Pilates. I'm seeing a theme here. That's good.
What, she goes to Pilates to reduce her boobs?
No, just that her boobs might be maybe
tumbling out.
Correct.
This guy's got some memory fixation.
Possibly, it's possible. I don't know if you saw the recent. Did you watch The Bachelor? Recently? You did. Did you see Abby do that acro
on the beach?
Well, yes, but Abby, one of the contenders for The Bachelor's Heart, was quite full-breasted, like buxom young woman. But when she was doing acro aerobics at some point, I noticed her boobs nearly
knocked her
chin off, and I was like, wow, that would be amazing.
Are you ever aware of any kind of sexual tension?
No, not really. And I don't think it really happens in the environment I have, because it's very small and focused on the individual. But I'm sure in big classes the dynamics are quite different, and there's a lot more. People can sort of hide away from the eye of the teacher and maybe think about their fantasies or something in a Pilates studio. I don't know.
So yours is clinical? Is yours more
pretty clinical.
one-on-one?
Like I have small groups of up to 4.
Yeah.
And it's one-on-one approach.
It's life-changing, really. For me, it's been great.
No, it's really important. You need that. Well, it's that thing we've been talking a lot about, getting in touch with yourself and your emotions. We talked about sensory stuff a few episodes ago, but I think being physically in touch is really important too.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Just feeling your body and posture.
And feeling grateful to it for all its faults.
That's right. And just for me, taking time out. So I try and do Pilates twice a week, or I do body balance, whatever I can get into. But it's the time out. Often when I get on the mat and finally hit the floor and stare at that roof, I think, okay, you're just here now. You can be here in this moment. It's a good
decompression for me forces me to be in the moment and connecting. Sometimes I find I don't have any energy and it's a struggle. Other times I think, oh, I'm a superwoman, I need to do a harder class. So it's weird how you feel different.
Yeah,
it's just all your energy
levels
levels.
and from whatever you've done throughout the day, how you are emotionally, that's, you know, comes out in how you physically feel as well.
And because with the mirrors, like sometimes I watch myself and think, yes,
Ooh,
you go, girl.
No,
But
I
other
never look in the mirrors.
Well, see, other times I don't.
I
because
close
I think,
my eyes. No, I don't want to see.
We turn our backs to the mirror.
Oh, do you? Oh, see, we've got the mirrors. Sometimes I feel like I'm in it, and other times I'm like, oh, this is so hard. But yeah.
Well, another thing that I'd love to discuss with you too, and I'm thinking that your Marae is inevitably going to get involved with, is internet dating.
Yes,
And look, over the past 3 years, I've been coming here and getting to know. And look, Katie has been on a great learning curve, I reckon, and somehow or other you've nailed this internet dating. It sounds like the most challenging thing for women in your age group.
So are you single?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, it's an interesting concept, the internet dating. It is fun though. I think for me, it started out as I needed to meet somebody, like I want to have a relationship, I want someone. And then as I've matured and learned a lot about myself, I've sort of gone into it more with lower expectations of an outcome, more of an experience. And also the only expectations I have is how you would respect someone and treat someone,
of course.
how you'd want to be treated and all that. But having fun with it and just, it's every time you meet someone, it's an experience, and internet dating gives you that chance to meet people you wouldn't ordinarily meet day to day. So you're crossing paths with people you would probably never meet. So, and you just enjoy it for that, for me.
And you're talking about the 6-week kind of.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Is this a theory?
Yeah. There's like a 6-week kind of, I don't know, timeline, I suppose, and you get to that certain point where you've been hanging out with someone and getting to know them, and then it's either not necessarily you're not asking for a relationship, but you want to know
you can see if it maybe is
if it's going to progress and is
Yeah.
it worth it or not. And the thing I've noticed the most is about 6 to 8 weeks is when it just goes to, it's an end to it. Like
it either goes south or it
They show themselves.
They really
the
show
mask
themselves.
drops.
Like that behaviour that they have at the start is
where they're putting it on and impressing you.
is definitely not there, and they've almost become too comfortable with that what they think the relationship is, and then when you ask for a little bit more, which is not really, I'm not asking for everything, I just want to know a little bit more about them. It's almost too hard, so it's like not interested, and I'm like, okay, that's fine.
You've come such a long way with it though, because when I first met you, you kind of seemed to want the traditional things of a husband and a baby and all of this stuff. And now I don't get that sense.
No, it's not really a priority for me, but it's just to have a good, loving relationship with someone that wants the same things, I suppose, long term, or at least for the near future.
And were you in a, if you don't mind me asking, like were you in a long relationship before this time or no? Okay.
Pretty single, but you know, just had boyfriends along the way.
And single and gorgeous.
I think, and that's the thing, I think that a relationship isn't everything, like it doesn't define who you are. And I think for me, I am completely happy with me and everything that I am and who I am and where I am. I've never felt like that until like this year. So that's a big step, and if a relationship came along, it was just a bonus. And that's all that means to me.
So you're getting in your own power.
And it feels really nice. It feels nice to be able to stand tall and say that outwardly and confidently.
And that would attract a different kind of man altogether. I think when you.
What's the funniest internet date you've ever had?
Oh gosh. I reckon I've got like a list of great stories to write down about, but I think this was a long time ago. I was probably like in my 20s, and it was about, the date lasted about 25 minutes because he didn't look like his photos, and we had nothing in common, and it was just really uncomfortable. And I can pretty much talk to anyone, and I'm
think that's something that I, can own, but I just had nothing to say to him. And I was like, oh my God. And he couldn't talk to me either. And I was like, I got to get out of here. And I was like, I've got to be somewhere else. It's time to go.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
And he accepted that.
Yeah, I know.
That was funny.
Yeah.
You should look at Tinder for the over 60s if you want a really depressing experience.
Have you been on it?
No, a friend showed me.
Oh.
And it's all these 70-year-old guys, because they
Wow.
lie about their age,
Yes.
posing for photos with no shirts on because they think they look gorgeous,
Yeah.
holding a fish or lounging on a riverbank,
Or a tiger. When you see a photo, like a selfie in the bathroom,
Yeah, men
a
do
tiger.
that.
Really?
Yes, men do
Shirts
these
off,
awkward,
you
and they
just
often
swipe
look. They
away.
look like this. They're like holding
Yeah,
the phone
they're
with
so
some
awkward.
weird frown, and
So
they just
awkward.
don't
Are
understand
they
that.
trying to look haunted and needy or
I
something?
think they just don't
No
know.
idea.
No one's given them guidance on how to look. Like the best photo would be you relaxed, maybe with friends who are either cropped out.
Yeah.
They don't get it. They think they're looking. I think they might think, I look good this morning. I'm going to capture this. They're always frowning. They're always
It's like,
frowning.
you need to smile.
And it'll be some dimly
Yeah.
bathroom with nothing
With a
interesting.
toilet in the background.
Yeah,
I hate
they
the
do that a
toilet.
lot. It's almost 50% of them. It's very common for the awkward
And they
frown
don't comb their
selfie.
hair in the over 60s one either.
Yeah. Look,
But
it's
I
a
thought
meat
this
market.
is such a rich scene, and I
Yeah,
know,
no, you're right.
I know that
It will
women
happen,
have
yeah.
some terrible experiences, and it
Yeah.
can be very demoralising too.
Yeah, but I agree with you. I think if your attitude's good, I've got friends who won't touch internet dating because but I see it like you do. It's just an opportunity to meet people.
Yeah.
You've got your same manners, your same person, you take it with you. And most people surely are good. Like, obviously you've got to have your wits about you when you're meeting strangers. But I mean, there's no difference to smiling at a guy in a bar, he's a stranger, and
that's
chatting
it,
and then
exactly.
exchanging numbers. That's the same thing. The difference is you don't have to go to the bar anymore.
Yeah, that's it. You can just sit on your couch.
Yeah,
Talk to
but I
someone.
still do think the percentage of people who are probably not who you'd connect with, I think there's a higher degree of people on there who you probably wouldn't connect with in real life.
Definitely.
There's a lot of people on there perhaps for the wrong reasons, or they don't know how to present themselves. It's rare to find like a good human who's not complicated and don't you
They
reckon?
don't really exist.
A lot of the guys on this Tinder account, a friend showed me, the
Yeah.
over 60s, have
Yeah.
very understanding wives, or they're sleeping in separate bedrooms. So,
Okay, that's interesting.
So lie upon lie, probably.
Yeah.
There are some good success stories. I've been to Tinder weddings, and so I think there's hope if that's what people want. So that's always nice.
Yeah, but I was going to say, because that's why I asked if you've been, new to it or not, essentially, because in my case, I was off the market for 8 years. So it was, and then, separated 3 years ago. So for me, it's been a new stage coming back, and I want to do that to my the character in my book. I want to make her even more, perhaps maybe she's been in a relationship for even longer, and I want my character to really have never tried internet dating, because I was in the era where it was just around at the start of my relationship when I was 30, but by the time I became single at 38, it was very prolific and normal.
Yeah.
And I used Bumble. I don't know if you've used
I've used them all. But to keep your options open, use them all.
Just those moments. And did you ever make a profile with a girlfriend? I always think of that moment where you're like, should we do this? Yeah, let's do this. And you pick your best photos.
Get your friends to write your bio.
Have a glass of wine. And,
Yeah.
and I think that would be
quite
nice
fun.
to put in the book.
Yeah, that's a great idea.
Nervousness about, but I like the idea that Marae, this character, is going to really stumble her way through this process, because you can imagine if you've never tried it before.
The roller coaster
So
of emotions.
we need to
Yeah.
find out some really embarrassing experiences and throw them in, amplify them, and throw them in.
Yeah.
That's true. But I think the main one that men don't do, men either try and hide who their physical appearance. I'm not being anti-short statured people, but I once met a man who was incredibly short in stature, which was not revealed on his profile.
Okay.
It just should have been honest, because I just found myself at this bar, and it was made worse by the fact that it was sat on quite high stools. So he was so,
I'm sure he had a lovely personality.
I know, but in combination with that, hiding that fact, that was that same awkward feeling of suddenly he was so eager to connect with me, and I just was a bit like, you don't look like how I imagined, and you're being quite needy right now. And it was all, I feel like he was projecting that
Well, if Marae's got big boobs, it would be quite good to have a short day.
So I'm definitely going to play in this space, but I love this idea of Pilates because I think this crush or this funny thing happening could be a good
Because she's got to get layered up. This girl, she's not an innocent little girl. She's got a history, and we're going to give her even more of a history. The other reason I love coming here is because, as I've told you countless times, I've had quite a lot of abdominal surgery, and I'm just full of scars down here. And early on, I would get terribly, really painful seizures, wouldn't I, sometimes? And Katie here is very empathic, and she would stop or send me home or stuff. But I've stuck with it now, and I'm thinking to myself every time I lie on that bed and stick my legs up in the air and do this thing that she says is for my arms, but it's really for my abdomen. I think I use it as a mantra. I am not my scars. Absolutely. And I think we can apply that to anyone who's lived half a life.
Mm-hmm.
We are not our scars, not physically, not emotionally.
Yeah, that's very true.
And Katie here tries to build up the muscle around my scars so that I can conquer them all. I don't know, that's too hard a word, but live with them, not
be at their mercy.
No.
You're in control of your body.
They're part of me, and that's okay.
Yeah.
But I'm not the woman who's had abdominal surgery who can't talk about anything else.
We've talked about plenty of that.
I just love that you're still holding the weights.
I know.
She's getting her bicep pump on.
Yeah, no, that's so true. I keep reflecting now on, I'm seeing another scene maybe potentially in a Pilates setting of, because you know how it is that time of reflection. So often your brain has been, the decks are cleared a bit in a space like this, depending on what exercise you're doing.
True.
I like the idea of maybe a realisation happening in a setting like this, because I find, particularly towards the end of Pilates, it's a real window into what my mind's doing. Is my mind racing? Am I flitting all over the place, or am I quite calm? Am I thinking about a certain thing, or am I not thinking about anything? It's a real screen. It's a screen save almost of how you are doing mentally as well, isn't it?
Definitely.
Yeah.
Definitely.
So I like this. I think this is cool, and I think a lot of people do yoga and Pilates, so they would relate to that.
Well, how did you get started, Katie?
When I was about 17, I hurt my back, and I was surf lifesaving, and I hurt my back in the surf, and went to the physio.
In a
and
wave?
started Pilates.
What happened? A big wave?
I can't remember specifically, but I must have been training or racing or something, and I hurt my back pretty bad. And then I went to the physio and started Pilates as a client, and then finished high school and did a training course straight out of high school, pretty much. So it's just kind of, that's been my whole life really.
Wow.
And every, so often I've done another course to upskill and advance, and it's like 14 years later.
Wow. Because that would have been quite, not new, but not as common back then.
Yeah, definitely not as common as it is now. Very clinical back then, so it's definitely evolved, and there's a lot of options for clients to sort of pick up different styles of Pilates, which is fun for catering for all types of people. So
it's interesting. So it came from a place of pain.
Yeah,
definitely. And all growth comes from a place of pain.
It does.
And look what it's done with you. It's given you a whole career, and you've veered out a little bit into psychology too.
I started studying psychology a few years ago. It's sort of deferred at the moment just because of work, but I would love to go back and one day be a clinical psychologist. Long time from now, but it's definitely something I would like to finish.
But it's like having it's like my novel. It's a long time from now. It's something that
and you can see it, but it's just like
long-term goal,
isn't
it? Because it's part of what your path stretches out.
That's it.
Even if it doesn't quite happen in the way you imagine.
Yeah, and I think that's for me. It was I wanted to do it when I first started, but then things have popped up and it's just deviated off the path. But it's still there, and I'll go back to it. So, but I also teach meditation, and that's kind of keeping me in that
zone.
Well,
that's almost a word for the swear jar. Zone.
Keeping me on the road.
No, meditation's lovely. I think it's important, and it can be challenging to do.
Yeah, it can be. And I think for me, it's about teaching people to be at one with their thoughts and their body and aware of their sensations and emotions when they're trying to learn to meditate, and not be afraid to think and not be afraid to scratch and itch and move if you have to. And
this is interesting. I in our kind of ad for this podcast, I remember saying why I put on 10 kilograms with every book, and I thought, I better address this one while you're talking about mind body. Writing is utterly exhausting, and they've done studies, and your brain uses up so much energy. You know, it kind of justifies why you feel exhausted. So you immediately think, oh, I need some sugar and food because I'm so exhausted. But your body doesn't realise that, so your body makes you fatter. So it's a very
feeding activity up here.
Yeah, so I think maybe this is why exercise and using your body as well as your brain helps. But by the end of a morning's writing, I can feel absolutely shattered, and then not want to move my body. But I think you have to.
Yeah, it's taking like the next step to listen to your body, to keep it moving, and then also eating the right things, not sugar.
But we brought carrot cake.
Carrot cake is yummy.
It's become our emblem. Carrot cake of our podcast. But you're so right. I think for me, I try and do a vigorous walk most mornings. Down to the bay and back. I like to start my day like that.
So nice.
I listen to an audiobook or music or nothing. And Pilates, that's my combo. Like, it's not as active as perhaps some people are, but I'm getting used to those parts of my week, and I need it.
Yeah.
I think it is, you're right, it centers me in my body. I think it's more mental for me than anything, but getting my blood pumping and my breath going, that helps me feel grounded in the moment, because I can get lost up here.
Yeah, and it brings connection to your body. Like, you can feel your body when you're exercising and moving, and you know, your heart rate's up, so you actually are aware of yourself, and you're like, I actually feel alive.
Yeah, it grounds you.
Yeah, completely.
Yeah.
Whereas I think writing, you can disappear into another world, and I've done a lot of that my whole life, been in this kind of parallel reality, and it's not necessarily very good for you, probably.
Yes, well, it's that thing of being in the moment, which everyone talks about, but I think it's increasingly so hard, or it's so easy to not be in the moment anymore. We can be distracted constantly on our phones and the to-do lists and thinking of a million things. So being grounded in the now is actually an art form.
And we almost need to learn to listen.
Definitely.
People have forgotten how to do that.
Because everyone's looking to do the next thing, tick the next box that they've missed or that's on their list. Or
So Pilates, I think we can conclude, is good for writers, not just physically, but to give you that mental grounding.
Definitely.
Well done, Kate.
Thank you. I think I've adequately taken this lesson, because the way we have designed our podcast, we sort of, we call it normal therapy, so it's a clinic essentially, and it's I'm always learning lessons along the way via Helen, and I think it's actually a really good reminder for me to make sure that routine is solid in my week, because I had this cold. I mean, this is a silly question probably, but when I've got a cold, I think, I shouldn't go to Pilates, I don't have the energy. But is that a cop-out? Should I just go and take it easy?
Well, it depends how bad you are, I suppose.
I just felt low in energy.
Yeah, and I think that's fine not to go. I would just go for a walk. Okay. You know, still do something to clear your head, get fresh air, move, sweat, do whatever, but just be mindful that you aren't well.
Yeah.
So you don't want to go, hardcore.
Yeah.
But give yourself something to do, because your body will thank you for it later on.
Yeah, no, you're right. And I can even notice if I just miss a few, classes, it's just you're that little bit behind where you were last time.
Yeah, it's so easy to lose your fitness and strength.
Yeah.
And I noticed, Katie, that your lessons have a structure, don't they?
Yeah.
Tell us how you structure a lesson.
Well, I always start with a warm-up, like most exercise classes.
Okay.
And usually a class is focused around what our goals are, or postural imbalances that we need to work on, and we start small by activating and releasing muscles, and then activate the smaller muscle groups, and then use the equipment with spring load to get the bigger muscle groups working. So you start to connect your body on a bigger, more global level, and then warm it down and stretch.
And we'll do the wobble board for balance.
Helen loves the wobble board. You've improved so much on the wobble board. It's amazing. It's amazing how people are quite afraid of it.
Because
obviously
it's
wobbly, but the idea of it is not to.
Balance is so important.
It's the easiest thing to lose, and it's just really important in everyday life.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about structure because that's something that Kate and I need to talk about more for the book. And the structure of a book is different from your structure because there's no warm up. It's got to be power right from the beginning.
Straight from the beginning.
And I know we've talked about you bringing a scrapbook. And for your homework, are we up to homework?
Yeah, I think
Well, for homework, I would like you to re-examine the story of Cinderella and draw it as a line, as an arc. Show me the story.
Her particular character. Just all of it.
We could actually even look at the Ugly Sisters and see where their story arc goes and weave them in and out.
Alright, I like this.
Some have said that is the perfect storyline. I actually don't believe it because it's all about getting a man.
Yeah.
But
we're cooler than that.
Yeah.
Exactly. Okay, this is good. This will be a challenging exercise. And I think subliminally I've been giving the message of get back into your Pilates and walking routine from you guys to me. And I just love this idea too of thinking about a Pilates scene or two because I did put it in my structure. It's fun. I want something playful. I like.
Yeah, that's so important. And putting our scars in their place, because scars they can weigh you down and stop you from ever moving forward, or you can actually embrace them.
Work around them. Definitely. Yeah.
So that's one day we've got a bridge to walk over.
Yeah, we do. There's a few things we've discussed about not wanting to be defined by events in your life, and I think that's something I'm grappling with at the moment. And this is all very liberating. I like it, but I think it's an important message for everyone, whether you're doing a creative project or not, is to not forget to be in your body, no matter what shape it's in. It doesn't matter.
That's exactly right.
You don't have to look in the mirror.
You only have one, and it's yours for life. So
you've got one client here with advanced Parkinson's, isn't it? And he's in his early 70s. He is so courageous. He can barely move from my perspective, and I always feel I'm bottom of the class. And I look at his courage and his determination to come here, and the way you are with him, Katie. You're terrific, you know. And that's an inspiration.
Absolutely. So if people are in Melbourne, in the inner south, is that where we are? Inner city Melbourne, how do they find you? Have you got a Facebook
I've got an
page?
Instagram page. I don't have a website. I've got a phone number.
So what was the name on Instagram?
Mind-body-integration.
We'll tag that in the notes. So if you want a fabulous Pilates trainer, come to Paran.
You're going to be swamped now.
Exactly. It's actually a lovely. We've got a view of blossoms on the streets of Paran out here. Probably surprised a few passers-by. That's where I'm facing the window. But this has been lovely. I think it's just such an important reminder to be grounded and just look after the body, especially posture. Stick your boobs out. Shoulders back. Yes.
Stand tall.
Exactly. Well, thank you for having us in your space. You can't really see here. We'll take a photo. We took a photo before of Helen holding a spine, which was very cool.
I'm a bit obsessed with that spine.
She looked very happy holding it. But so thank you so much for being on our podcast.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you. Great. All right. We'll see you all, or you'll hear us next time.
Bye.